Good afternoon. This is the Powerful Parent Network Quarantine Edition, but this week it's a special edition. What we have in store for you guys today is to hear from 3 of our city leaders from across the country talk about their intimate relationships, not only with their children, but children in their communities. You will hear from Sonia Thomas of Nashville Propel, who started in the summer of 2018. You'll also hear from Miss Kimberly Dukes with the Atlanta Thrive, who also started in the summer of 2018. And last but not least, you'll hear from the up-and-coming Crystal Barnett with Bridge to Hope out of St. Louis, who started less than a year ago. I've had the pleasure to hear some of these stories. I look forward to you guys hearing it and giving us your feedback. We want to dedicate this show to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day weekend from the Powerful Parent Network.
When you first lay your eyes on your newborn baby, you begin to have a vision for your child. You begin to dream about who he or she is going to be and how they're going to change the world. So I want parents to go back to that moment and go back to their vision for their child, and then ask yourself, is there anything getting in the way of that? And if it is, remove it. If your child is not in a quality school where they're getting a quality education, you have the right to move that child, to move mountains, follow your gut, and make sure that that vision comes to pass.
I went to school in a low-income community, which was like Zone 6, White for Elementary. But I don't think my mom or nobody really knew like school grades and things like that. I don't think it was a popular thing. They just sent us to school. But it felt really good on the elementary level. But when I got into like the middle school, the neighborhood I lived in was like known for the worst middle school in Atlanta. And it's like Cohen Middle School. So mama, I was just ready because I grew up with these kids all my life. I was excited. Like I didn't know something was wrong. But when I got to 6th grade, my mama actually kind of like committed a crime by using my grandfather's address to get me in what she thought was a better school. She didn't know that. I just thought she probably thinks she was doing what was best, but we went across town. We used to walk, me and my younger brother walk and get on the school bus. But when we get on the school bus, like we went to school with some of the worst communities, what they would call like the project. So like East Lake Meadow, there's something they would call like Little Vietnam, Thomasville. So the community that my kids go to school is the kids that I went to school with when I was younger. But they would like break the kids up in teams, and the kids who parents weren't showing up, or the kids who like act out. You know, you really didn't know what was going on in their home, but the kids who had a lot going on, those were the kids that they automatically assumed parents did not care or that they didn't want to learn. So they actually like put most of those kids on one team. And then that was like team C, and they would break down the team, and this one classroom would have all of the kids that nobody wanted to deal with or nobody could control, but they would just send that group from classroom to classroom. And I was one of the kids in the group, but my mama was like a single mama going to work every day. She just did not have time to be involved in the school like that. Like we was from kind of like transitioning from like my mom's house to my granddad's house. Like we was trying to like, she tried to do what was best, but didn't know it was just as worse as sending us to our home school. I'll never forget this janitor lady. She used to say, "Oh, I know what y'all gonna be when y'all grow up." And for some reason, that has always stuck with me. And I think like to this day, that's what made me do the things that I do and go so hard in education, because that lady, the janitor, she never seen anything great in the kids. But I don't think in schools a lot of people understand, like, no matter what role you have, if it's cafeteria, if it's a bus monitor, if it's the principal or the teacher, like, you are very impactful on the kids. Mr. Campbell, the 6th grade teacher, he would say, he was our teacher, so he had what they call like the bad class. And he was like a capper. So he would just try to think of different ways to teach us, but he would always tell us, these people think y'all can't learn. You know, but as kids, you just having a good time, you ain't thinking of it. So My mom had a parent teacher conference, and that's when she learned that I was in that class. I never, like, from that day on, when I went back to the school, like, it was just totally different for me. Like, I was in a different classroom, I was on a different team, I was in a different setting. I don't know what my mama said, I just know it was different. But I've always thought about the kids that mama didn't come and mama didn't speak up. Like, that's all they had. So I was like 16 when I got pregnant with my baby, and I was in high school. And the kind of they took you off the road after you get like 36 weeks. It's like a liability. But I always remember the janitor. You know what I'm saying? She would say like, "I know what y'all gonna be." That's always stuck with me. Um, so my mama, she would say stuff like, like black parents, they'll say, "You ain't got to go to school. You gonna go to work." It's basically you gonna do something. You gonna do something. You gonna do something so that you can be okay, so that you can survive. But like I've always watched my mama fight for me. So she didn't know, like, I don't think in her heart she knew I was gonna graduate or not, but I knew she really wanted it for me. But I don't know if she kind of gave up. But I knew like I had to prove everybody wrong because they have already kind of like wrote our story. So I wanted to recreate my story, and I just went and enrolled myself in Job Corps. And I told my mama that's what I did. So she like, oh, here we go with another me, but she was behind me because it's like whatever my child want to do, I'm gonna support her. And she supported me, and I graduated a year later with my GED and my CNA. And I think I did it because I was pregnant with my baby, and I knew that I had to do it for her. And from that day on, like I just lived to fight for my kids. I've lived my life, but I just feel like everything I do, it has to make it where they don't have to go through the things that I had to go through.
I was in DSEG in a predominantly suburban white school from third grade to 12th grade. In 11th grade, I had 6 teachers have a conversation with my mother, and they told her that I would never go to college, that I never needed to pursue higher learning, that I was incapable of doing things on a higher learning level, and that she needed to help me pick a trade or get me ready for menial jobs because that's all that I would amount to. It's actually the pivotal point for me that changed my trajectory of how I thought about myself. And I also made my mind up that I wouldn't allow anyone to decide for me what I did in school. So I went from being maybe number 200 and something to in the top 25 of my class when I graduated. After graduation, I went to a place called Job Corps because I had lost my full ride scholarship because I got pregnant, and you couldn't be pregnant and go to school. Um, in Job Corps, I was there for a year before the head of Job Corps came and told me that I didn't belong there. He woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was pregnant with my son Malachi at the time, and he asked me why was I there, and I didn't really get it. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out why you woke me up so early. Like, what is the reason? He's like, I don't think you belong here. I want you to apply to go to school. I'm like, I don't want to go to school. Like, I don't want to go to school. He's like, well, I'm going to take you to apply for school today. So you need to be ready to go by 9 o'clock. So he took me to a place called St. Louis Community College, and I enrolled there. In my first 2 years there, I was a 4.0 student. I didn't know that I could do it. Like, I just did it because he said I needed to. And then I kind of proved to myself that maybe college was a good place for me and I belonged there. So when I graduated from Forest Park Community College, I did graduate from there as a National Honor Society member. So for me, it was very, very special, I think, for that. A couple of years before, they told me I would never do anything, and I just graduated from a community college with a 4.0. I did apply to go to a university because that same man came and found me when I graduated from community college and told me I needed to go get my bachelor's. And I'm like, I don't want to. He's like, yeah, you need to do it. So he took me to St. Louis University to apply for the program that I took, which was health information management, information systems with a minor in math. And I graduated from St. Louis University with honors also. So I can tell you that although my educational track started off rough, and there was several people you were supposed to trust, like teachers, who did not encourage me to do well. It was something on the inside of me as a student, and I want to say my parents' support that didn't allow me to give up, and then people in my life who poured into me great things and confidence to do things that I was told I couldn't do.
What I remember is fourth grade being the hardest grade for me. I remember struggling. I remember being in Mr. Weatherman's classroom. And I go back to the memory. Oh, I'm getting choked up. I think that was the beginning of me feeling defeated in school. I think that's the first time I felt like I was defeated and did not enjoy school for whatever reason. I really can't put a pin on it, like why. But I know that fourth grade was hard for me and it was not a good year for me, but I passed. Then I went to Ewing Park where I played sports, which I feel like saved me because it created a sense of family and discipline. Coach Nancy Startup was my volleyball coach, and she worked with me and she believed in me. And I ended up eighth grade being the captain of the volleyball team, all tournament MVP on the volleyball team. I threw the shot put and the discus, and I was city champ at Ewing Park. And so I really enjoyed athletics, and it kept me grounded. As far as academics, I was just like that C student. School was hard for me. It was hard for me to focus and get it. I didn't get things as quickly as everybody else did, and I processed information different. I can remember math being hard. Just could not. And I really think it was something mentally going on, right? Like fear. When I say mentally, like I feared it. And so it was hard for me because I feared it. But then I started to grow up, and I, again, got interested in boys, and ended up having a baby in high school my senior year. And what's ironic about that is because I realized that life was no longer about me, my grades got better, but it was too late. I ended up graduating with a very low GPA. I only made a 17 on the ACT. Nobody really talked to me about college. Nobody really talked to me about maintaining my grade point average and having a high ACT score. And it wasn't until my friends were kind of talking about it, and most of them were in honors classes, Tanya and Tamara, talking about them going to college. I was like, man, I need to go to college. I want to be a nurse like my mom. My mom's an LPN. And so I can remember filling out the application to go to Tennessee State University and getting that letter that they weren't accepting me because I did not meet the criteria. And that was devastating for me because my friends were going to Michigan State and going to TSU, going to Northwestern, going to all these places. And here I am at home with the baby. Didn't get to go to the prom. Didn't get to do any of those things. And so I felt defeated, but also at the same time, I felt determined because I looked into my son's eyes and said that was never going to happen to him. You know, I'm like, man, I got to provide for you. So I ended up going to Nashville State College, but they didn't have a nursing school program. So I got the opportunity to apply right next door at Tennessee Technology Center. And they had an LPN program, and that's what I wanted to do. So I went and I took the test. It was an aptitude test is what they called it. And I passed it and I got in. But I was in for the fight of my life because that is when I realized that I had a reading comprehension problem. My friends would do study group, and Candace Jones and Kawana, and you know, we would all do a study group, and they could read the lessons that we would have and get it. Where I had to read it 3, 4, 5 times, have a discussion, do index cards. They would make an A, I would make a C and a D. And man, I struggled through that for an entire year, but I made it. I graduated. I walked across that stage and I fought hard. And my son Jordan got me through that because I knew if I did not fight hard and that if I could stay the course, that life would be better. Nashville Propel is a parent-led movement, organized and led by parents. And the Propel stands for Parents Requiring Our Public Education System to Lead. 8 parents got together and decided that things needed to change, that it's a matter of life and death. We're living in a city where the crime was increasing, the juvenile crime was increasing, more children dying, more children not going to college, more, it's hitting home, our children growing up and not wanting them to go through the things that we went through. And we got together and decided that after we finished a parent advocacy fellowship, that it was time to take everything that we had learned and all of that passion and drive and to be boots on the ground. And that September, when we started the priority school list, September 2018, the priority school list had come out. And to be honest with you, I had never really known about this priority school list. And I had my own son in a priority school, a state-run school, and did not know it. So you can only imagine the fear, the anger, the betrayal that I felt personally. Was angry about that. I had my son in 6th grade in that school. And then to find out that after taking him out of that school, just based on a gut feeling, that my son was reading on a 2nd grade reading level.
Is there anyone in this room who has ever felt powerless?
So Propel is a movement. We aim to disrupt the inequities in education. And what we know and what we understand is that when parents have great school choices and access to quality schools, and when people are held accountable, that's when all children will reach their greatest potential. When parents are armed and empowered with the fact that they need choice, quality, and access, and when our lawmakers have those same values that we have that will improve not only our schools, but our communities. When we all have that, all children will reach their greatest potential. There's nothing stopping that. And so that is why Propel is here. And that's why Propel is here to stay until that change is made, until that comes into fruition.
Atlanta Thrive is a group of parents and grandparents that kind of like fight for the inequities in education. Atlanta is a city where it's like a tale of two cities. So if you have money, your experience is different. And if you kind of low income, you have a totally different experience. So we are actually out in the community, going door to door in some of the lowest income communities, knocking on the doors, talking to our parents about how you feel and what's their experience. And it's like, well, do you know your kids have grades? And it's some parents that don't know. And it's like, what is the grade? Or they'll tell you that my kids have A's and B's on their report card, but when we sit down with parents and kind of like break it down to them and show them how to go find the information and what they should be looking at, that's when the light bulb come on and the parents are kind of awoke. And then we pull those parents into our fellowship. So we've been honored to be able to have 53 parents to graduate from our fellowship. So that's what we're teaching parents, a 5-week class where we're teaching parents how to advocate, teaching them about the history of APS, teaching them about the current campaigns that's going on in the city, and basically holding their hand, because whatever they're going through, actually I'm going through it too. It may not be at the exact same time, but if when I get to it, or if I know another parent that may experience it, I can connect them. So I think it's more so about us building the movement in Atlanta to make sure that all of our parents are standing hand in hand and we're fighting for what's best. Because we have 89 schools in Atlanta, and 54 of our schools have received a D or lower, and that's a problem for us in Atlanta. So it's important for parents to know what's going on and parents to educate parents so that we can wake up our city and hold our decision makers accountable, because our kids is the next generation. So those are the next doctors, those are the next scientists that we're gonna need to make it through things like the pandemic. I don't know one person that don't want what's best or don't love their kid. It doesn't matter your mindset. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter where you come from. You love your child. Now, it's some things you have experienced in your lifestyle that have may make it look a little different, or how you raise. So when they look at me, a mama of 10 kids, if I'm not at every meeting, you assume I don't care. When my mom was a single mother raising 3 kids, just trying to survive and pay the bills, you assume that my mother doesn't care. But when are we going to say we all should care and we should go and do some of the things that Thrive are doing and meeting these parents at their doorsteps, calling these parents, building these relationships, because parents care. It's just hard to be at the school, meet with 10 different teachers, go to work. Because if I come to the school and I don't be to work on time, I may lose my job. Like, you have to actually understand the families and the community that you're working with before you can say people don't care. People care about their kids and people want what's best. But when you aren't transparent and you don't let parents know what they can have, and outside of what they do, or expose them to something different or something new, then parents just begin to think that this is what I have to accept. So that's what give parents a mindset, or give you people a mindset to think parents don't care, because you have made them accept what you have given them. So why should they care about what you think they should care about? They care about their kids, but we should care about some of the same things together.
I don't know if you understand, but there's a question. Bridge to Hope for us is a parent community movement. Like, our schools, we know, overall do not educate students well. They blame parents for why students aren't doing great. In the Black community specifically, it's about trauma and drugs and missing fathers and things, as if those things don't exist in other cultures. And I think those are the reasons that they perpetuate that our students are less able or capable, or they don't believe in their ability to do well, and they attach all of those things to trauma specific things. Bridge to Hope was created to bring awareness to the fact that you don't have to tolerate a school that was designed to educate that doesn't educate your child. I say it all the time, schools are the only people on the planet who don't have to do their jobs well, but they still get paid. Parents is the only missing piece from that conversation. And there's a stigma that people believe that Black and brown people don't care about their kids. And it's time for us to show them that we do. We are contributing to our children every day. But if you have a problem, for instance, with school lunches, but you take it to the superintendent, there's not going to be anything done. You should have took it to the head of the cafeteria. And I think that's the breakdown. Parents have been screaming out and fighting, but they're taking their fight to the wrong people at the wrong times. And those people are not the people who need to help them navigate through that system to get what their kids need. And I believe the next reason the Bridge to Hope was created was to expose the corrupt ways that schools exist, and to inform and empower parents to be knowledgeable enough to navigate their child through that system and get everything that child deserves based on the law.
White people who keep trying to tell us that we shouldn't be able to pick the best school for our kids, where the hell do you send your kids?
Advocacy starts with emotional courage. You have to, one, be transparent enough to say that there's some things that you don't know. Two, you have to be strong enough to say that even though I don't know, I'm going to find out. And three, you have to be strong enough to say that you know your why enough to know that when I find out, I'm now going to fight. Because the non-education of our children is death. We don't have the option to sit back and watch kids fail from year to year, or be complacent about things such as literacy or the understanding of concepts in school. These are basic life skills that these children are learning. Stuff like reading and basic math is something you use all of your life. And the kids are not getting exposed to things in a way that's beneficial to them to be productive, well-running adults. And then we have to remember that when we invest in our kids as stakeholders, we're building up the platform of the next generation of folks who want to lead our country. Do you really want a country full of people who can't read? Like, if they would think about it in a practical sense, they would understand it don't make sense. And parents are the front runners. You are the major stakeholders. You own the most percent because they're your children. So if you decide that your child deserves something better, and we all come together, and that was 300 people decided and not 3, then we have now placed ourselves at the table to make demands for change. And it'll happen rapidly. It won't be a slow process like people think.
I just wanted to piggyback off on the
An informed person is a great advocate. The more knowledge you have, the better you can fight. The more well you know how that system works, the better you can navigate. The greater your child is in school, the better they are in life. Like, it all ties in together. Advocacy is emotional courage and knowing your why.
When I thought about advocacy and they say, well, parents don't care or why they not doing nothing, it's because they sleep and because you have made them accept what you giving them. They don't know that they can fight, right? So once you talk to these parents and show them that they kid is not reading, and you kind of like tailor it just to them and let them know like this not just like your kid, yeah, it's A's and B's, but you can break it down and say this is the data, this how many kids reading on grade level. So if it's 1,000 kids and it's only 70 kids that's reading on grade level, do you think it's your child? So it's like waking them up. And once you wake them up, you have to, like, after you wake them up, they're going through the city waking up other parents because now they woke. And when you wake other parents up, it's like now we want to fight. So it's like the different stages. When they begin to fight, it's like no matter what come up against us, we're gonna create campaigns to knock you down until you do right by our kids. And that's what it is. So right now a lot of parents aren't woke because we're stuck in survival mode. So when you have a lot of stuff going on, you can't focus on the education because you're focusing on surviving, right? But if I can help you get a little grocery, okay, sister, I'm gonna help you buy a pack of meat and I help keep the baby while you go to the school, then that's when we start to wake each other up, because now my sister is able to see what's actually going on the inside of the schools. Why can't I go into the classroom? I'm just gonna accept that. Teacher say, well, your child been acting up. Okay, parents come to the school and say, well, I want to go into the classroom. Well, you have to make an appointment. Why should I have to make an appointment? Parents accept that. They don't tell me that, Donna. You know why they don't tell me that? Because the first thing I say, okay, can you give me the handbook? And when they give me the handbook, it does not say it nowhere in their handbook. I've had principals to go pull teacher handbooks and tell me, well, it says that they need to make an appointment. I'm like, well, how do you expect parents to know? We don't know that, and that should not be a rule. But that's the other reason why you have to advocate on the national level, so that you can tell parents like what the rights are. And if you don't understand it, we can break it down. And if it's something that clearly we don't agree with, we got to change that policy. Like, we dissect it and we created a new policy and we rally behind it and make it into what we want it to be. Yeah, because they'll tell us whatever. But you have to just know where you are in the advocacy letter. Because if you sleep, you just don't accept it. But I'm not asleep. So that's why when you woke and you in fight mode, guess what? They feel like you a problem. And I always tell them, I ain't your problem, I'm your solution. It's up to you to open your arms and receive it. It's my child, don't it? You don't know what's best. You get a check on the 1st and the 15th, or however they pay you. You get a check. I don't get nothing out of this. What it say? All I get, return to sender. My baby come right back to me after he graduate from the 12th grade, or either they drop out, and guess what they say? It started at home. But all along, I've been advocating, saying, help me, help me, help me. I got this 504. I got this parent. I want you to do this. I need this. And no one's helping me. But it say, return to sender. And it's the parents' fault because it started at home. But it's so much federal money going into schools and teachers and programming and all that. And nobody is saying, well, pause. Let's talk to the mama. How has this child learned? What has this child been through? What is the family history? And let's better come up with a better plan on how to like give a diagnosis. You know how they say like triage, and then like when you're in triage, they figuring it out. But then when you give a diagnosis, that's the teachers and the counselors and the wraparound services that the baby need for them to be successful. But that's not what's happening. But if you advocate on different levels, meaning while I'm advocating for my child, I'm still waking up other parents because I know it's parents sleep. So I'm going up the ladder, but I'm instead of reaching back, pulling other parents, telling them to come on because I know the only way I can get to the top of passing campaigns for all of the kids is if I'm reaching back, bringing other parents with me.
You know, there's a saying, be fruitful and multiply. And I just believe that in that together, we can make sure that all children have exactly what they need. I want parents to understand that they can't be complacent. If someone tells you that everything's all right, oh, he's just in fifth grade, you know, he's just been a fifth grader. You know, that's what fifth graders do. Oh, you know, he's improving. Yeah, he has improved. Yeah. Or even, oh, your child, they read on college level. I don't want you to be complacent. I want you to be boots on the ground, and I want you to not just advocate for your child, but I want you to question everything. Because when you question everything, that's when you find out the truth. I want parents to know that it's not okay to put them on the bus and believe that everything is just okay, because we can't do that anymore. And it's unfortunate. And I hope and pray that someday that we can do that. I need parents to know that they have to fight for their children. And I'm not talking about a physical fight. I'm talking about a spiritual fight. I'm talking about fight for your vision, fight like you never fought before. And don't stop fighting until the vision for your child has come to pass. And whether it's not they attend Vanderbilt University or they become a professional baseball player. That's the vision that I have for my CJ, and I won't stop fighting. So parents, don't stop fighting for your children. And don't get tired. You can't get tired. And I know that's easy said or done, but find a way. And that's why I believe that it takes a village. It takes all of us so that we don't get tired. Because what I see is parents going to the school and they're trying to fight for their children. And they go into the conference room with people to talk about their children. There's 6 of them and 1 of you. No, we got to do this together, y'all.
I think Powerful Parent Network is a way for cities to expose their parents to the national platform. So not only should you know how to go to your local school district, you should be able to go to the state and also advocate for your kids on the national level.
We work for parents and we work for kids and we work for children.
So working with different cities like Memphis and Nashville and San Antonio and St. Louis, bringing parents together to rally behind things like policies that should change on the federal level. When you think of the pandemic, a lot of things had to change for us to make things work for our kids. So if we change the law on a federal level and push it down to a local level, then our parents know how to fight.
Also on Twitter kicking ass, like we were everywhere. Like,
to get what we need for our children on every level.
When we fix education for Black children, we would have fixed it for all kids. I know people are going to think that's a strange statement, but that's a fact. When you fix it on our level, the most attacked level of Black and brown people, you would have officially fixed it for every child. So what brings me hope is that I believe that parents can do it. I believe that really down in their hearts, they're afraid. And when they see more and more people banding together, the fear will leave. Fear is debilitating. It stops you from making decisions and doing anything. What brings me hope is that people will let go of their fear and have the emotional courage and connect to their why to know that this is your fight. This is my fight. This is our fight. And we're fighting for the betterment of our kids. What greater fight is there to be in?
So y'all keep on fighting. I don't care what y'all up against.
We need to have conversations with people on a national level about Black and brown children. And they don't get to keep making decisions on the federal or local level about us and our kids without talking to us. The Powerful Parent Network to me is an opportunity for every single parent in every state to get behind a movement that will make a demand for these people to start listening to real parents, mothers and fathers and grandmothers, aunts, uncles. The Powerful Parent Network has opened up a floodgate for us to walk up to presidential candidates and say, you're going to listen. I need 5 minutes of your time and you're going to listen for all 5. Like, this has never happened ever in life. But the Powerful Parent Network has created a force. We are a force. Every parent, whether you're part of the Powerful Parent Network or not, but I advise you to be a part of it, is a force. And when we come together as a force, we make a mighty blow against a system that was designed to fail our kids. We're not asking for it anymore. It's a demand. We're going to pop up everywhere they are. We're going to hop down in the middle of their meetings. We're going to interrupt their conversations and their speeches until you listen to the people that actually put you in the place that you're in.
This is really about liberation.
Which is voters, which is us. So Powerful Parent Network is a blessing. It'll be history making when the real change happens.